Testing 1 2, check check check. Hello hello. All right guys, in this stream I'm going to be showing you how to design from scratch a presentation, or at least how I go about doing it. And I want to share some of my design process and thoughts, the way that I think about design, and maybe give you a template, right? More of a philosophy behind how I set up designs specifically for presentations. And of course, we're going to be using Google Slides, and we'll see how this goes. So, hey, Rad, how you doing? Thank you for joining in. So I'm gonna open up the stream here so that I can see it, and then we'll get started here in just a minute. I'm gonna wait just a couple of minutes for some other people. If you don't mind sharing this with somebody maybe on a social media channel, that'd be great. I want to help as many people as possible in this stream. And while I'm at it, why don't we get some music going? Thanks, Rad. I'm going to share this on YouTube, or on Facebook and Twitter and Google+. I really hope to be sharing some things in this stream that are going to help some teachers, that are going to help students. Kirsty, hi from the UK. Thank you for watching. I can't see everyone unless you comment, so I can see Rad, and I can see Kirsty. It shows that 4 people are watching. So if you want to shout out, just leave me a comment, and that way too I can see your name and see where you're from. That'd be great. I want to interact with you guys, and I want you to be part of this content, because that's the magic and the beauty and the power of live streaming, rather than just recording a video and polishing it and making it perfect. Live streaming is, I think the most important thing about it is relationship, sharing ideas, getting instant feedback, hearing what you guys have to say, and having you become part of this content, and that conversation then becomes archived for other people to benefit from. I think that's just so cool. So, all right, share this a couple places, and we'll get started in just a couple more minutes. All right. We're going to be designing a presentation, and I've chosen pumpkins for my topic. So I'm thinking, this maybe could be for a school project, but the ideas, the principles that I'm going to share can be applied to anything, whether it's a public speaking engagement, sharing something with a large group, a professional presentation, or a business meeting, or whether this is something for education. I think design is really important. I think visual communication is what design is about, and the better we can break things into digestible chunks, the more likely it is that people will remember what we have to say, and the more impact our presentations and projects will have. So that's what we're going to be doing. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. All right, so I'm just sitting here in a blank presentation. I've just given it a name, just called it Pumpkins. started a new presentation right from my Google Drive. And what I want to do is set up something that's just really, really polished and professional looking, and that's also very much my style. And I want to share some of that with you in this stream. So I'm gonna, on my other device here, I'll pull up the chat so that I can make sure that I can see if anybody has any comments or questions during this live stream. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you for jumping on here and being part of this. All right. So the first thing that I kind of work out in my head when I'm getting ready to design something, and this is just design for anything, any kind of design. In this case, it's going to be a presentation. I keep these little journals handy, and I use them. I like having something that I can just sit next to my computer or Chromebook or whatever I might happen to be working on, and jot down notes and make sure that I have a clear goal in mind, so that I have something to work towards, so that I know whether or not I did the job, and if it's going to be successful or not. Did it meet the goals? Then I have something to kind of reference and go back to. So we're going to be designing a template, essentially, for a presentation on pumpkins, because it's November and Thanksgiving's coming up, but it's not too far away from Halloween. And pumpkins are big right now. Pumpkin spice, pumpkin pie, pumpkin, you know, and I think they're interesting. So we're going to be talking about, not talking, but I'm using pumpkins as my topic here. So, and I found some really beautiful imagery. So in Google Slides, the first thing that I do, especially when I'm designing from scratch, is I get rid of the little template gallery, which is, let's see, can I view that? Presets. Oh, that's present. Whoops. We don't want that yet. We'll get to that. Anyways, there's usually a panel all over on the right hand side where you can select a template from, and there it is. It's under the Explore tab. So here's all the different layouts, and this has been growing, but they're still pretty limited, and these are fine for just kind of putting together some quick presentations. What this does is it uses master slides and a lot of pre-built content. We're just going to start from scratch, and I'll show you my entire process and behind the scenes and how I go about setting something up. Okay, here we go. So one thing I do is just get rid of the speaker notes. First of all, under the view menu, I'll click on show speaker notes to hide that. That gives me a little bit more screen real estate to work with. And then I just lasso select, click and drag select to select all the content there and just get rid of it. Then I go to the slide menu up here. Let me zoom in on that menu bar. So under slides, you go down here to edit masters. Okay, and then I've got all of these pre-built layouts still in here. Even though we're starting from scratch, there's all this sort of pre-built content, which can be helpful. But I just like to get rid of it so that I can build my own layouts. So I select all of them just by holding Shift. I select the last one, hold Shift, and then select the second layout there. So they're all highlighted in blue, and then just hit delete. And then now I just have a master slide and a master layout. So I get rid of the filler content on both of those. And here's how these master slides work. Anything that's on the actual master will show up on every single slide in your presentation. So this could be great if you want to use a business logo or a school logo or something that you want to have present on every single slide. You could also do that in a layout. Layouts are more dynamic. You can assign layouts to different slides, and you can do it in batches. So you could have a whole section that uses a particular layout, another section that uses a different layout, etc. I like to use these layouts really for my backgrounds, because the other thing that master slides do is it allows you to create things. You have all of the same tools available just if I was, you know, on the regular slide here. But when I'm in the edit master slide window, I can create designs, I can add text, I can do a lot of stuff in here. And then when I go back to my normal slide view, all of that stuff is locked. I can always get back to it when I go to the edit masters. But it acts basically as a layer underneath everything else. So I think that's kind of cool. And so that's why I like to use it for backgrounds, so that I'm not accidentally selecting anything that I want to have in the very, very back. For this one, I have a couple of things in mind. I have a theme in mind, and like I said, the topic's going to be pumpkin, so I want to have something that's sort of country, something organic, and still something that's very minimal and classy and beautiful. And everything in here I'm gonna show you is fairly easy to do, and I hope that that some of these tips help you create things faster that look great and are very visually compelling. Okay, so my first background here, I think that I'm just gonna leave it white, and I'm gonna create a new layout. So I'm just gonna right click over in this area and select new layout. This one, I'm going to have a background image, and you can add an image. If I click on this background button here, if I click on that, I can change the background. Then you can see here, I can change the color, or I can add an image. But adding an image here will stretch whatever image you add, and it doesn't give you some of the flexibility as it would if you do it a different way. Let me just show you. So I'll choose an image, and I'm going to upload one from my hard drive. So I'm going to open up my folder here, and I've prepared some assets, and this is really where I start actually designing. As I've gone through and I've just found a bunch of assets that I may or may not use, but most of these I got from, and I'll just show you the page here. This is PNG IMG. What's beautiful about this is that these are pre-cut out, and for the most part the cutouts are pretty good, especially for just using them for a presentation. There's some that are smaller in resolution, there's some that are larger in resolution, so I've chosen to use some of the larger resolution ones because I want to make sure it looks really good on larger screens or like on a projector. I don't want to see any pixelation. And these are already pre-cut out, so the backgrounds are transparent. So anything that I have behind it in my slide will be visible. So PNG, IMG, and these are licensed under Creative Commons license, so you can use them for anything except for commercial purposes or reselling them, as long as you give attribution to where you got them. So this is me giving attribution to PNG IMG. It's a great resource, right? So that's one resource. That's where most of these images came from. Other really good resource is Unsplash, UNSPLASH.com. These photos can be used for anything you want. You can edit them, you can share them, you can use them in commercial projects, you can use them for whatever you want. And there's 10 new high-resolution images added every week. And you can see here, these are just really beautiful photos. And the search in this is really good. So I just searched pumpkins and found images these are not cut out. They don't have a transparent layer to them. They're just beautiful photos. And so I'm using some from there. And then for my backgrounds, I searched for a wood texture, and that's what we're going to use. That's how we're going to start this off. So I'm going to go to my assets folder here that I've prepared and grab this wood grain and just drag and drop it into the upload window here. Now, this is the way I wouldn't do it, okay? because I can't resize this. I can't change maybe the contrast or brightness or recolor it or make it grayscale like I could if I had an image inserted rather than a background image. Okay, I just wanted to show you that's what that background image does. If that's all you need, that should work. I like to do it a different way. I can actually just drag and drop it right in. And this gives me a little bit more control. So I can position it now. I can scale it. I can double click and crop it. And I'm going to crop it right down to the exact size. I get these nice blue guides that my cropping will snap to. And now I can kind of play with this and position it a little bit more freely. Also, I'm going to click right up here on my Format Options button. With the image selected, I'll click Format Options. And that's going to open a flyout menu on the right-hand side. I'm going to go to my adjustments. And I want to use this background several different ways. So one image I want to be able to use and get lots of different results. So I want the wood texture, but not necessarily the color. So I can just increase this transparency slider and maybe move it up to like 85. So it's very, very transparent. What I can then do is maybe increase the contrast so a little bit more of that wood grain comes through. And then let's test this out. So on my first slide here, I'll go to Apply Layout. I just right-clicked on it, go to Apply Layout, and there's my Custom Layout 1. And it's applied. And you can see now that I'm in the normal slide view here, I can't select that background. It's not editable unless I go back to my Edit Master slide. But what I can do now is this background doesn't have to be white. I can go change my background color, and maybe I want this to be orange. And now it's orange, but it has that wood grain. Really, really powerful. Just being able to use some images and some of the features in Google Slides. Not Photoshop or anything complicated like that, to be able to get some really cool results like this. And I can always go back in here and change my background color, maybe make it green. And I just think that's really neat. So it looks maybe like wood that has been painted. Maybe blue. That'll look really neat with the orange pumpkins. But yeah, let's do this. All right. So what I might do is go back into my master slides and create a couple of these. But I think this is the only one that I'm going to need for this presentation for this template. But I just want to show you that's kind of my process. Is I've got a blank one here that's just a white background. This one will have a very semi-transparent image on it. I like just having a little bit of visual texture, and this kind of gives it some grounding. It's more than just like looking at it, you know, an infinite white field of nothingness. You know, now this has some kind of surface to put my elements on. I'm just checking the chat over here. How you guys doing? Thank you for watching. Any questions so far? Just feel free to chime right in and become part of this content while we are live. So you can see how I can get lots of different background options out of just one image and then just changing the background color. All right, now here's what I've just made a few little notes here, okay, on my little notebook. And what I've done is written down just some bullet points of things that I need to create. I need a title slide and maybe give myself a couple of options since I'm creating a template here. And if it's good, if the results are good, I will have this template available on diveintodrive.com if anybody's interested. So I want to create a title slide and maybe give myself a couple of options. So let's start there. Since it's going to be about pumpkins, I've grabbed this image here of a group of pumpkins. And this is a PNG. It's got a semi-transparent, or it's got a transparent background to it. And I can just drag and drop it right into my Google Slides. And already I think that we have a very beautiful compelling visual slide here. But we need some text. This needs to have a title. I like to use the word art because it's a little bit more flexible than a text box. So go to the insert menu, choose word art, and I can type in here. And this is just going to be pumpkins. And I'm doing it in all caps. And I'm going to choose a simple font that has a lot of weight to it. And one of my favorites is Montserrat. And I'll choose black, so it's nice and thick and chunky. And you can play with this. What I like about the word art is that you can grab it easily and rescale it, like so. And what I might do now is, now that I have this image in here and it's a PNG, so you can see the background behind it, and I can move it around, right? And it doesn't have this white box around it. If it was a JPEG that was not cut out, it would just be this white box around it. But this PNG allows whatever's behind this image to show through. And I can do a lot of things now with this image. I can double click on it to crop it. So maybe what I'll do is bring it down here to the bottom so I have some room there for my title. Increase the size so a little bit of it goes off the edges. Pull it down, and then I'm just going to crop the bottom so that it lines up with the bottom of the slide. Maybe scale it down just a little bit. Something like that. And then pumpkins can sit right here above it in this nice blue area with that very subtle wood grain. Okay, I could go to my format options here and just add a drop shadow there to my text. And that's a pretty nice title slide. I think that's pretty neat. Mike Downs, how you doing? Another hi from the UK. You need to check out Mike Downs' channel. Please do so. He makes some really great videos. Very informational, lots of good value in them. So thank you for being on here. So there's one option for a title. I can right click over here and create a new slide. Actually, what I think I'll do, just to give myself some variations, I can duplicate this slide now. And I want to try something here. We'll see if it works. So I like to use this pasteboard area, this empty space that's just around my canvas, just to kind of move things off until I need them. They're just sitting there waiting for me until I'm ready for them. So this image, I'm going to click on this little button right up here to reset the image. This resets the cropping and the sizing. There we go. So I might want to do something different with that. And let's see here. I'm going to double click on this pumpkins word, and I'm going to do something kind of interesting. I'm going to, with the word art, I can double click to edit the text inside of it, and I'm holding down Control and dragging to create a duplicate. So I'm going to break this up into individual characters. You can do this very quickly once you get the modifier keys down pat. Okay, P-U-M. I need another P, so I can just duplicate that. P-U-M-P-K-I-N-S. right, so I'm going to do something that I've seen in advertising, and it's kind of a neat look. It's a neat type treatment that's sort of it might be a little bit harder to read, but it's very interesting. It's very visually striking. And what I'm going to do is actually, I think I'm just going to select all of my text here and increase the size just a little bit. And I'm just going to play with the spacing and make this kind of wonky. Okay, and then I'm going to select this top row of letters, go to Arrange, and I'll distribute those horizontally. And these maybe are going to go in between those down here. All right, and we'll see how this works with the image. And what I might do is I'm gonna, with the image selected, I'll go to Arrange, Rotate, and we'll flip that horizontally because I want these other pumpkins here peeking through. And then I'll double click and I'll crop it down. Something like that. And we'll get our text rearranged here. That's kind of different. Like I said, it's maybe it's hard to read, but gives us an option to play with. Pumpkins. Yeah, yep. I just had to rearrange my text there. And of course I can always go to my background and maybe change my color. This would be a lot of orange, but maybe that's interesting. I could make this more subtle. We could go with a gradient and just make it maybe like a grayish light gradient there. Maybe increase the size of my photo just a little bit. Bring in some more of that color. All right, so that gives me a couple of options for my title slide. I could always add in another bit of word art or text box. And maybe just put in a subtitle. We'll make that Mozart as well, but maybe medium. And we'll shrink that down. And give that just a subtle drop shadow. I try not to go crazy with like effects and drop shadows and glows and things like that. And Google Slides is a simple tool, so there's not a whole lot of like layer styles and things like that to change. But I just want to show you, this gives you some options with just a very few elements. So far we've only used one image and made it very transparent for the background. That gives us lots of different color options for changing the backgrounds and making sure they work, and that our text and elements everything is still very visible and readable. And then this high resolution image of these pumpkins really now just gives us that pop of color, and just already I think we're getting to a place of something that's very sophisticated and beautiful, but not very complex. It doesn't take very long to kind of set something up like this. And it just gives you just a lot of options. And this is kind of the way that I think about design in general, right? It's very modular. It's very I just need some good imagery. Then I need some good typography, something that's going to present the message, and I need maybe some iconography, some kind of symbols, call to actions, buttons, directions, cues. I lump that into iconography, things that pictorially cue you to take an action. So think about like just all of the buttons right here on the screen in your web browser. Those are giving you a message. They're giving you a cue, something to select, something to change, some action to take. And the three of those, I think, combined well, are the strongest designs. But any of those, I mean, I've seen beautiful designs done with just letters and arranged in interesting and weird ways, kind of like this one here. We've got these letters spaced out in kind of a wonky way. All right, so I think that's good for our title slides. All right, so title slides, we've got a couple of options there. This might be a little bit more easy to read, of course. What we need now is some section slides. So something that's going to be kind of like a divider or an intro to the next part of our talk or presentation. So I'm going to right click over here and create a new slide. And this subtle background here actually works pretty well. We could put black text on top of this and have just a little bit more interest than just a plain white background. Since this is going to be a topic slide or a section slide, we can play with it maybe a little bit more visually. We'll bring in some of our elements here in a second. Do you normally work with guides? I do. They have been non-dragging in the last 10 days. I've sent Google feedback. I do like that the guides. I mean, at least they were working a little bit better. If you go to View, you can show guides. These are working now, and I like that it gives you, a numbers. It's in inches, which I think is kind of strange for Google Slides, because you're typically going to be using Google Slides for presentations, and there's no way to change that to pixels, at least for right now. Also, if I say I select an image here, and under my format options, under the size and position, this is also in inches. Even if my document is set up in pixels, I wish that would change according to your document settings. So if I went to File, Page Setup, change this to Custom, and then chose Pixels, you see we have a 16 by 9, this is just the default, which is 960 by 540, which is fine for this presentation. But if I set it on pixels, click OK, I would expect that this should change to pixels as well. So if I'm sizing something, it's according to pixels rather than inches. Do you have centimeters in the UK? That's interesting. I'd actually even prefer working with centimeters. I just wish that would change according to how you have it set up in your document. So like if I select an element here, the spacing and the size, I like that they included this. That this was not too long ago. They added the format options where you can change the size and position granularly. So I can type in a number here. So like my X position here, I could put in 2 and it would move that. So now it's 2 inches from my from the left edge of the document. Likewise with the Y position. So you can position things exactly where you want them, but right now, for me anyways, it only allows me to work in inches. So I'm gonna just hide the guides for now. All right, so here we have a section. We're gonna create a section slide. And what I think I might do is just grab this text from my title slide and we'll bring it in here. Go to Format Options. I'm going to turn off the drop shadow. It's almost invisible now, but don't worry. We're going to change our color, and maybe this is where we can start bringing in some colors, and we'll just make it orange. So this could be your section headline. And this actually you might find easier to do with a text box. Why don't we do that? Since I'll set this up as a template, we'll go ahead and do it this way. So instead of the word art, I just dragged in or clicked on a text box. Now I can select my font and we'll type in section headline. All right, and I can select all of that and press Control Shift and the period key to increase my size. The comma will decrease it, which is also your left and right caret arrows. So 36, I don't want it to be necessarily as big as my title, but a nice chunky headline there. I can resize this box. And I'll just push it all the way to the edge and then use my arrow keys to kind of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 position it this way. Maybe I want it centered, so maybe let's just do that. We'll center it and then center this text box. It's up to you. You can decide. As just a visual element under my section headlines, I might just put in a horizontal line. I find this to be really effective in just kind of visually breaking up things. And, you know, maybe this is where we can introduce color. So we'll bring in some of that orange. Go to our range, center it on the page, make sure that's all lined up. So there's a section headline, and maybe we'll grab one of our PNGs. So for this one, maybe let's talk about pumpkin shapes and colors. And we'll bring in some of our assets here that we have prepared. These are just PNG images. Okay, and then we can arrange these. I'm going to select all of them and just shrink them all down just a little bit, holding Shift so I don't squash them. Control Shift and the up arrow will move things to the front. Control Shift and down arrow will move things to the back. And now we can arrange these on our page and just get as creative as you want to get. I want to have some of these weird, interesting ones maybe up toward the front. Select all of them and then just line them up with our guides there. So just arranging them to taste there, and that's kind of nice. I like this. It's very minimal, very simple, but because these have so much texture and color, and it provides a lot of interest. Mike says, I agree, crazy. We cannot control this to pixels. Again, have sent feedback. That's good. Thanks for hanging out, Mike, and for your comments. And maybe just to kind of keep with our theme here, I'm gonna grab a rectangle and just drag in rectangle here, and we're gonna make it that same blue that we used for our title slide, and then Control Shift down arrow will move it to the back. And I like doing this kind of thing where I have something that separates the color or the images. You see what I mean here? So it makes it really obvious that these images are like three-dimensional. They're cut out. They're not part of just a photo. And I can change this color and do a lot of different things with it, and it really changes the mood of this slide. We'll keep it blue because I think that looks nice. So there's a section title, a section slide, and maybe we'll do a couple of these. So I'll duplicate this one, and this one will have a different title. So section number 2. And we could change our imagery if we want, or we could keep it the same. I'll duplicate that again. Section number 3. All right, now in between these, I'll create new slides. And these will be our content slides. This is going to be our text and our images. And I want to have just a couple of different layouts. Again, keeping things very, very simple so that it will be easy for me to fill this all in with really compelling content, good information. And when I get to that point, I've got a place to put it. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to get some text boxes here. And what I like to do is usually do a couple of columns. So here's one, and I'm just going to grab some lorem ipsum. Okay. I like to use this site for just filler text. And I just want a couple of paragraphs that would be relevant to whatever this particular slide topic is. And I'm going to press Control Shift and V to make sure I don't copy any of the formatting from that website. That's pretty good. Maybe increase my font size. Not that big, maybe 18. That's probably fine. And I could have a couple of columns here. So I'm just going to space these out and then maybe center them. And another thing I can do is position the text inside of those to be center. That looks pretty good. And if I wanted, I could bring in, I'm going to copy this text here, and I could bring in an element, 1 to add color, and 2 to be a nice visual cue or just a way of reminding the viewers, the audience, where you're at in the presentation. So there we go. I'm going to make that Montserrat black, and we'll center it. And we'll make it white. There you go. That's a nice content slide. I'm going to duplicate that slide, and this will be, we'll do one column of text, and we're going to insert an image for the other side. So maybe this one is going to be about how the pumpkins grow or something. And we can just drag and drop an image. Okay, something like this, and I'll just center that up again. So what I'm hoping that you're seeing is once you have some elements in here, you can really quickly be able to make your iterations, make your changes. And so the title slide then becomes your section slides with just a few tweaks, a few changes, a few different elements. Then your section slides become your content slides with just a few tweaks, a little change here and there, changing out some content. And you can continue iterating on those until you have an entire presentation done. And I'm going to move my camera over here so you can see this. And so now I can copy these slides, and we'll paste them underneath our next section and paste them again under that section. And now I can change all of this. So now we have a nice fleshed out presentation. Here is the thumbnail view. Okay, so we've done our title slide, we've done our topic or section slides, we've done our content slides. Again, what I can then do is go back in here. Let me just show you how quickly this is now. So I'm on my section 2. If I wanted to swap out that imagery or just rearrange it, I can do that. So maybe to give myself a different section, something that looks a little different, we'll change the background. We'll maybe make it a gradient black, and still our background texture there shows through, but we're gonna have to change our title color here to white, and then maybe make this bottom piece a gradient, something like that. So already very, very different, but it still works with our color scheme, our theme, all of that stuff. So now we went from this one to this one with just a few changes, and it looks very, very different. Keeps people interested and engaged, hopefully. And it didn't take very long to do. And then maybe for this section, we'll change our orange to that dark gradient, just like that. Okay, and then for our last section here, perhaps we will make this orange. So we'll have a lot of orange. Actually, why don't we do this? We'll make the bottom part that gradient black, and our background color will be orange. And then our little horizontal line here, maybe that can be our blue. And black actually looks okay on that orange. Let me just see if I like white better. Nope, I like black better. And maybe black for this line as well. So again, we just have a few changes. We still keep in, you know, our basic theme. I'm just using 2 fonts actually in this this presentation so far, Montserrat and Arial. I could actually make this all Montserrat. We'll make it Montserrat medium. That will be a little bit easier to read, I think. Fills up a little bit more space. There we go. And once you get this set on one slide, then just duplicating those slides, you don't have to go back in and change all the stuff that I'm doing right now. So one font, I like Montserrat because you have a lot of different weights to it, right? You got thin, extra light, light, normal, medium. So you just have a lot of different weights, and hopefully one of the things that you're getting out of this efficiency. So there we go. We've got our template here. We've got our theme ready to go, and now I can just fill this in with content. We've got a beautiful slideshow, a beautiful presentation that hopefully you'd be proud of. And of course, it doesn't have to be about pumpkins. You can use these same principles and techniques to create any kind of presentation. Thank you guys for watching. Bye for now.